Gotta get into the zone.
We got this.
Hello, WVCW listeners. This is Oscar Muendel, production manager here at WVCW Radio, and you have just listened to the first 2025 episode of Nails on a Chalkboard, this time featuring Dials, Dials, Dials.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I think it's a really cool, unique one since it's like the first time we've had like actual live instrumentation on it, but it certainly fits Nails on a Chalkboard. I always ask our artists this because each one is so distinct and very much their own thing. Yeah. If you could introduce yourself, give us your name, major, whatever you want to say, and I don't know, how would you pitch your sound to a prospective listener?
Yeah. Well, my name is Milo McAdams. I'm a jazz major at VCU. I'm a sophomore year. If I had to pitch the project, I'd probably say it's a experimental live jungle. Probably using guitar pedals to make wacky sounds with it. That's probably the route I'd go.
Okay. And so, if Milo looks familiar, it's because we had his a dirty rock duo. We got it right. Dirty rock duo, Wrong Worshippers. We had them in for a chalkboard session about a year and a half ago, and he's in the. And so you already have these artistic outlets. Why add this one to the repertoire? Why did you feel like it was necessary, and why are you pursuing it so much?
Yeah, I've always kind of, when I got to college, I was really obsessed with jungle, and I just needed an outlet to play it live, and it's tough to find places to do that. I was my roommate and I, he DJ'd a bit, so we would try it, but it wouldn't work out as much as I wanted it to. And I remember also my summer of junior year, I was obsessed with putting these guitar pedals on my drum set, and I was trying to take it into a more post-punk route. There was this band Lip Critic from New York I was trying to emulate, and something about it I just didn't feel like was working. They had the vocals were a big part. So I think the jungle allowed me that outlet where I could kind of just play this jungle groove, and if I had some wacky stuff on top, it would still be jungle. It would still have that accessible nature, where it wouldn't just be these crazy sounds. It would be there'd be this rhythm to it. So I feel like that's kind of how it fell into place, just the combination of those two. And having a solo project, it's been very, I don't want to use the word freeing, but
certainly,
right. If I get a gig offer, I'm the only person that I have to ask. So
I think get a whole paycheck to yourself.
Exactly. $100 is now $100, not 50. I think that's kind of how it all came to fruition.
And so, since you're occupying this sort of limbo between electronic music and live drumming. Who are your musical references, if there are any inspirations? Do they tend to be like weirdo live drummers? I use that term endearingly. Or is it like software DJs that use DAWs and chop up their own drum breaks?
Yeah, I would say it's honestly probably right down the middle. There's this drummer Brian Chippendale. He drums for Lightning Bolt, and he has a solo project called Black Pus, where he runs his drums through a bunch of pedals, and this one right here, that DL4 Mark II, he does that a sampling technique I straight up just ripped off of him. Okay, but I get the jungle aspect. There's this producer called LTJ Bookham.
Are they big in the jungle world?
I would say
jungle
so.
World.
Yeah. I would argue. I think it's very groove based, and I feel like it's taught me a lot about building those, because I'm so used to structured songs, but the jungle music is and I think DJing in general and electronic, it's a different song form. It's like building drops and taking a lot of stuff out. Sure. So I took a lot from him, and also Jojo Mayer. I think he's a really big in jungle drumming on drum sets. So as far as that cymbal, he has a cymbal very taped up, so it has that attack kind of like those cymbal sounds. Yeah, very very short and tight. And then I have this one really washy, like that's kind of that the wrong worshipers peeking through, those needing for those breakdowns and that change of kind of bringing my own element to that.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna ask you a question. I hope it doesn't result in me like ranting for a minute and just being like, oh, okay. I'm curious your perspective on this. You're occupying this realm where like there's this like new generation of drummers who in the 90s when bands started chopping or when DJs started chopping up these grooves, it like since they were not restricted by their own bodily functions, like they could chop up these drum beats to a point where like a drummer could potentially not physically be able to play them.
Right.
And now there are these drummers who listen, like yourself, who listen to those chopped up beats and try to emulate that with your own bodies. Are there like limitations that you like? Are there certain parts of jungle music that are physically impossible to play, or if there are, is that like a sort of is there like a ladder to climb?
Right. I would say there is, but then you watch drummers like JoJo Mayer, and you're like, how did that drummer physically do that?
Okay. Okay, I'm very interested. I want to look them up.
And I think within jungle, like, I think it's that tightness, that's the hardest part, is that robotic sound.
Yeah.
Because it is perfect every single time. So I think that's the ladder I've been trying to strive for, is like, just how tight can this groove be? And there's also other times in jungle where it's like, you have this groove, and then they straight up just layer a different groove right on top of it. So it's like, maybe that's not humanly possible. Yeah. But I think with the pedals, and it kind of like I can kind of stretch it and make that illusion. And then there's technique stuff like those double kick drums, like trying to get that. See, that's kind of like buzzes, and it's not as tight as it, like trying to get that. Like. That's where that real challenge like comes in. So I think as time goes on, people find ways to cheat it, which is always really cool to see how they do it.
Do you, as a young drummer, do you feel? I sound like I'm like an old person, but is there a movement there with drummers trying to emulate EDM or electronic music in some way, or do you feel like you're not that you were? I don't want. I'm not like. Right. Anyway, but like, do you feel like you're in like the sort of like on the start of a wave, or is that like a thing that drummers are trying to achieve? Yeah,
I think like with the JD Beck and Domi, that record, like that was like what's pretty amazing for me to have seen is like in the jazz community, like jungle's working its way in, and that's been happening for a while. Like I don't know, I've always thought that's so fascinating, where it's like, you start with like, 60s soul, and then that gets chopped up to amen breaks. And then that becomes such a big thing. It starts influencing modern jazz.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Whoa. Like that's, So I think movement wise, I definitely see like on Instagram, like Star Power drummer.
I follow him too.
Yeah. Caroline Polachek's drummer. Like,
yes, I know. It's nuts.
That's crazy. Like that guy's got, like, did it. You know what I mean? Like the sound, everything.
Yeah.
So I think like, I don't know if there's like the movement, but once I started doing this, once I started this project, I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, I feel like I've never seen this before. Like, I feel like I'm onto something. And then the more I got into it, the more I found other people doing it, and then taking from those people. And so I think, I don't know, maybe there's not a movement, but there is a really weird little pocket on the internet for this, which I love. And if I keep at it, hopefully I can be a part of it.
Yeah. I noticed something really interesting, and I'm curious. Like, I'm not trying to like psychoanalyze you, but how like the human brain, or how a jazz drummer's brain tries to emulate jungle. When taking like a second take of a song here, the breaks would be almost completely different. So like, is it like, are you trying to? It's not like a with obviously when you render in a DAW, it'll sound the exact same unless you have some sort of randomizing component. Is there a lot of improvisation that goes into it? Like, is it a new language that you just have to play the drums through? You know what I mean?
Yeah, these pedals are so finicky. Whenever I hit something, it never sounds the same twice.
Yeah.
Like honestly, like I feel like that's the way songs are getting written, or not even songs, like movements within like sets are coming to shape. Like it's just like repetitions kind of like showing like, okay, maybe I'll do this thing again. Maybe I'll do this thing again. But yeah, the improvisation is a huge aspect of it. I really like, I don't know. When we talked like, oh, like we're going to do about 3 or 4 songs. I'm like, songs? Like,
yeah.
I you know what I mean? Like it is a very improvised set that has like islands and like landmarks that I am like, okay, I'm going to hit like, I'm going to get quiet for a bit. I'll use this specific pedal to get loud again, and then I'll take that one out. So it really isn't like, here's the groove, 16 bars in, I'll do this. Another 16, I'll do this. You know what I mean? There is that jazz element to it where it's like, it's never going to be the same twice, but you can recognize it when you know what it is.
Sure. Okay, I say we cut to the chase. Can we get a gear tour?
Let's do it. Yeah.
All right. So maybe we start with the 2 simple ones.
Okay.
What is your oscillator?
Yeah. So this is just a delay pedal plugged into nothing. So
apologies if you can't see it very well.
Yeah. I can hold it up.
Yeah.
So this right here is a Behringer vintage delay. It's literally just, the input is just a patch cable. And it oscillates within itself. So the intensity is all the way up. So is that...
So so it's just a delay pedal. Are you feeding it into itself?
No, I think it's... honestly,
or there's just like a generator inside.
Right. So kind of like the way delay kind of works, like... I don't know if I can... Since it's... Yeah. Maybe if I can get this a little louder, like
we don't have to worry about it. We got much more to talk about.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, basically the intensity, like it's how long it repeats for. And if I turn the intensity all the way up, it basically repeats for.
Yeah, it's just really high feedback.
Right. So the rate kind of changes.
Oh, you can just make the rate really high. So that's what I got it. Okay.
So, but the intensity is like the length of it. So it does kind of feedback within itself.
Cool.
And that is how, like, so I'll just have this on my drums, and I'll just turn this knob, while I'm playing one-handed. Yeah.
Give yourself a lot of possibilities.
Yeah, exactly. So that was honestly the beginning of the project. Was like, whoa, this makes this sound. Yeah. What can other pedals do? Yeah. So that's the main oscillator point.
Okay.
I kind of keep it separate from these, because these pedals are reacting to a sound while this is just reacting to itself. Yeah. So if I had this in the rig, it'll just blow up everything. Okay. The whole set would catch on fire and stuff.
And so I don't want to dwell on this more than I have to. If this is just like a sample pad where you're playing chopped up almond breaks or break beats or whatever.
Yeah, let me put the mic down. I'll do a little. So there's that when I'm playing, and that like within songs, but I also went ahead and added in like, I kind of have just composed songs in it. Kind of like an IDM. Yeah. Kind of create these like, and they can get a lot more intense. I have like, turn it down a bit. But then, a lot, like there's, so that's like, that's the really, when I'm using those songs, I'm not really touching this pedal rig at all. That kind of just becomes like, this is a song, and that's the same every time. Yeah. So I'm always going back and forth with this project. Like, how experimental versus accessible do I want to be? So I think best of both worlds. I have some songs that people can latch on to, and I have some stuff that is crazy. Yeah. It's a big back and forth.
Okay, let's get to the meat. So there's this contact mic on your second snare drum, right?
Mm-hmm. It's right in here. It's taped on, and the output is right here. And that's going right into this Canyon delay, which has a lot of different options. One of them I really like is this one right here, where you can just hit it. It just keeps that going. You can speed it up.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff here. I'll throw. Let me turn this down some. So throw a synth on there. You know, like so you start stacking some phaser. But the where the control like really comes from is the pitch shifting. So I got it on this T-arm setting. So I can do that in songs. I can also turn it down.
Yeah, there's so much you can do with when you give yourself a consistent signal.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there's like this canyon has a lot of different effects where I can do like this octave one where it's just like you do it and you're kind of like, what the fuck? You know?
Wow. Yeah.
Like
you are just like, what the fuck?
But yeah, and then this DL4 is kind of like, let me set it to this setting. So you can, this has got a lot of little presets where this is a glitch one. I don't know if, yeah, you know, you get away with it. But where this DL really shines is the loops. Let me take a sec to just create one right quick. Yeah. So I'm going to create, I'll just explain it before I do it. I'm going to get a little feedback going right here. I'm going to shift the feedback into a tiny little melody and then catch it in the looper. Okay. That's the goal. All right. We'll see what happens.
Hold you to it.
Yeah. So there's something in there.
Dials, and dials.
Yeah,
more dials,
exactly. So now I'll go ahead, this play it once option. See how it's just played once, and then, you know,
it's like it's a new percussive instrument.
It works its way into grooves now. Like
that's awesome. But that is okay. Can those pedal buttons take a lot of weight? Are those? I guess they're meant to be pushed with your foot.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well, I'm not. I'm usually doing this with a sock on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I can't like. There's so many buttons and things down here where I need that precision of a not shoed foot. You know, like I use the balls and the heel of my feet.
Yeah.
So
You put that foot in like a sock of Vaseline.
Exactly.
To keep it. Yeah.
No, I remember like before I got it down, like I'd be hitting them weird and I just like these like. It hurt for a while, you know. It was almost a new instrument where the feet had to like catch up. But you know, I can do that loop, halftime it. You can reverse them, and then you can halftime the reverse. So that was a thing I stole from Brian Chippendale.
Okay, that pedal specifically.
Having that pedal at the end of the chain where you can use it. Don't like
okay.
That. So what I'll do is I'll catch these loops and I'll catch loops in it and then I'll go back and I'll reset like the weird effect on here. So then I have loop with my foot, weird thing I can hit here, oscillator, and then I can do breaks on here. So,
and then you got the drum kit.
And then,
yeah.
And then I have to play the groove.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like. I'm always at a point where I feel like I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah.
You know, like these songs, like I just, like the song will be like, okay, I'll catch the loop and hit that thing. That's the song. And then another song is like, okay, I'll just have this and I'll pitch shift it. That'll be the song. You know, and then another song, I'll just do a heavy beat and jam out on this thing. You know, that'll be.
Give yourself constraints and that's its own thing.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And I think within that, grooves are starting to become more consistent and sounds are starting to become more consistent. But it's always kind of like twisting and turning on itself.
Okay. So what is the how do you I mean it's already a lot. I know it's probably a lot mentally to handle. Do you have any like prospects with where like added gear
Um,
in your setup?
Yeah, so I have a second contact mic. So what I think I'm gonna do
Possibilities are literally endless.
So I think that's gonna go to the bass drum. So I'm gonna have a second. I'll have to come back and do another episode once I get that down.
Yeah.
But it's like that's where I can hit the bass drum and that triggers a different sound. I'll do another shout out. There's D'Anthony Parks has an album called Silver Chord, where that's just a straight up avant-garde like experimental record.
Yeah.
But
he's in like fine art circuits now, right?
yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah. He's insane.
Yeah.
But he has a very defined bass drum trigger that is I find amazing. I'd love to try to get that on. So I'd probably do a second delay and then another pitch shifter.
Okay.
So then I can go back and forth.
Yeah.
Other grew like honestly that gear, but I'm so far from getting all this gear I have down.
Right. That's what I felt like.
Right. Like, yeah, it's
silly
kind
question, but yeah,
we have gear at home, like kind of like vibe.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
And I guess lastly, or maybe not, maybe penultimately, what do you want Giles? How do you want Dials as like a unit to expand? Like, I heard you talking about like being commissioned for certain things,
right?
Potentially, yeah. What do you want to do with Dials?
So this is this is insider secret. I'll give it to WVCW.
Not anymore.
Nails on a Chalkboard, right. But I'm working up, and it's going to be for a while. But the composing and performing for a fashion runway, which I'm
awesome,
so excited for.
Yeah.
I think, I'll get a look, and I'll get the looks, and I'll compose based off the looks, and it'll be crazy and weird, but and like I'm really excited about that. I've had other like aspirations. I want to kind of maybe get in contact with VCU Dance and have like
they have live drummers there,
right?
Yeah.
I heard like the live drumming would be amazing, but what about live drumming with this? Like that, I thought that would be so fun. There's that like Machine Girl's a big inspiration.
Yeah. Did you know that KI and Dance are in the same building? You would literally be
that's perfect. I'm gonna use that information.
Yeah.
Send an email tonight. Neon White by Machine Girl.
I love that soundtrack so much.
Right. So I think video game composition or film composition, like you talk about like expanding the project. I was like, yeah, I'd love to play bigger shows, but could I make this sound sad or could I make a like happy? Could I make a soundtrack for a mini film with just this? Like how far can this stretch?
Yeah. So you're very open.
Right. And
the possibilities.
I think about like career wise, like if I can really harness this and almost have it in a more nuanced way where it's like it's not a crazy spectacle. It's I'm sitting behind a drum kit, then something happens that just elevates the song. Like I think being a recording drummer where like, oh, I'm the only person that could offer that. I feel like that'll really create a cool, that is the goal where it's like I kind of develop this even more like stronger, unique, just drum sound. That's just
figure yourself out to it. Be true to yourself. And
exactly.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I think I just want to keep playing shows. I just want to keep touring. The Wrong Worshippers connection has helped vastly.
Yeah.
Having friends in the scene where it's like, hey, like you're playing a show. You got like 15 minutes of extra room on that bill, or like, calling in favors, or if we get gig offers, just being like, we can't, but this project can. Like it's free that day.
Yeah.
Just kind of like filling in and knowing who to ask, when to ask has been very helpful. Yeah.
Well, cool. Are there any specific things that are maybe in like the near future that people can expect?
Yeah, I don't know when this episode will drop, but February 9th, I have a show. Super Bowl Sunday.
Probably not by then.
It's Anti-Cop City show, so I think that's trying to also make this project, for a cause in a way, not just.
Yeah, it's inherently like an angry, harsh sound.
Yeah, exactly. So not just being like, oh yeah, it's just noises. Like kind of having a purpose with it.
Yeah.
A show in Lynchburg. I'm on the 27th. I'm gonna be trying to working up an EP soonish.
Cool.
that's another like kind of floaty thing. Yeah, no, I think that's, just figuring it out. That's kind of what I got up next.
Well, cool. Thank you for giving us your afternoon.
Yeah,
this was incredible.
This was, and I think before I go, I just want to do a quick shout out. My sibling Rory McAdams, they on the projections, they were the ones that created those linoleum prints, and I was the one that animated them.
Yeah, they're really impressive.
I was blown away by them and their work with those prints. They have a zine called Zine Idols that originally was the use of those prints.
Okay.
So I asked them to commission all these different colors for these songs.
Cool.
So I think going and following Zine Idols, checking that zine out, shout out Zine Idols. And I guess a quick shag carpet shout out.
Sure.
A must. But yeah, that is the project.
Okay. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. And listen to Dials, listen to Wrong Worshippers, listen to WVCW Radio.
Thank you.
Have a good one.